Hey, hello everyone, and welcome back to DC Logic's webinars and trainings. We're happy to have you again in a very exciting webinar with great technology vendors. So we will wait for like a couple of minutes for people to join, and then we will start the webinar. So bear with us. It's an awkward moment of silence. Great, so I think we can start, and people will be joining. So again, hello everyone. I'm Mohammed Elayan, the CEO and CSO of DC Logics, and I'm joined with my colleagues, Suman and Nadir from the business development team. And we have great technology vendors today with us. We have Tenzig, we have Liquidware, and we have Vembu. Today's theme is around a very interesting topic that's gaining momentum in our region, which is Azure AVD, and Windows 365, which are both great solutions provided by Microsoft for delivering the Windows desktops and applications to users, and especially in a secure and scalable and cost-effective way. And there are a lot of great benefits from having Windows 365 and AVD, and the solutions and technology vendors that we have, every one of them today, every one of them has a very specific value and great story to tell about what they can do with Windows 365 and the other types of solutions that they carry. Of course, Windows 365, the reason why it's gaining momentum now in the region is that it provides that great, I would say, flexibility. It gives you security, definitely because the AVD and Windows 365 both are hosted on Microsoft and the Microsoft Azure cloud, which provides definitely a higher level of security compared to on-premises deployments. Definitely they're scalable, cost-effective. They even give you nice stuff like ability to have remote access where users can access their desktops from anywhere as long as they have like an internet connection, which makes it ideal for organizations with mobile workforces and team members. They're good with application compatibility for sure. So AVD and Windows 365, they both run a wide range of Windows applications, including any kind of productivity software, business applications, and legacy applications. They're easy to manage using a variety of tools, including the portal itself that's provided by Microsoft, the Azure portal or PowerShell or any other clients. And without further ado, I want to take the moment now to introduce the ladies and gentlemen in this panel. And we will start with Tenzig. We're going alphabetically. So start with Tenzig, and would you please introduce yourselves to the team, to the audience, and let us know about your value to the customers and resellers.
Thanks, Maud. I'll kick off. So I'm James. I'm 41. I have a son called Julian. He's 2, and we've just got back from holiday. So coming back to work, it's nice for a break. I'm also a Leicester City season ticket holder, and we just got relegated. So we've got a tough season ahead trying to get back into the Premier League. I am also the sales director at Tenzig, and I work with our partners and our customers across Europe and the Middle East, and work with DC Logics very closely to make sure that we service our customers in your region and deliver an excellent thin or zero client solution, which includes hardware, software, and a management tool, which we'll dip into later, and we'll talk to you about our certifications for AVD, Windows 365, and other solutions and so on. So that's a quick intro from me. I'll pass you over to Stu, my colleague now.
Thanks, James, and thanks, Maud. So my name is Stuart Hales, and I work as pre-sales at Tenzig for EMEA, working closely with the EMEA sales team, including James and the other account managers. I joined Tenzig back in 2019, and I've worked in IT for over 20 years in previous roles. I am married and got one daughter who both keep me very busy. But when I'm not doing anything with them, I do like to do a bit of exercise and a lot of cycling. And I like sport in general. I'm a Gemini, so I like lots of different things. So that's pretty much it.
Beautiful introduction. Eh? And then we move to Liquidware.
Yeah, well, thank you. So, Sonia, do you want to start? Ladies first.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Sonia Pelchev from Liquidware. I'm one of the co-founder of Liquidware. We founded it in 2007, and I'm very happy to listen to you because I'm not very technical. Probably it will be very technical, the whole thing. And so therefore, I think I would like to leave everything to Pierre. And well, I wish you a good meeting. I'm listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Well, Pierre Marmiot, I'm a father of 5. So yesterday we had a discussion with Maud and one of his colleagues, and so I had the compliment that I could be almost an Arabic person with those kids. So yeah, I'm a father of 5. I have 4 daughters and 1 boy. Wow. And I'm working for Liquidware and with Sonia since 2011, late 2011. So lucky since that time. I was lucky earlier, but I'm happy to be here as well with Liquidware. And with Liquidware, we are working also with DistiLogic since 2015, I guess. So it's a long time. We're working together. We had a few big successes together, and I'm really happy to be able to present you our product for AVD, Microsoft 365, and going mainly in the direction of applications and application management. But I will let you know more after our discussion or introductions.
Thank you so much. And now we move to the Vembu team. Leave it to you guys.
Thank you, Mohammed. And hello, ladies and gentlemen. So this is Pranav from the product management team of Vembu. I'm one of the senior product analysts from the team. And with me, I do have Mr. Iman, one of the global sales and customer acquisition head from the team, and also Ranjita, one of the sales executive from the team as well. So we at Vembu, we more towards the data protection market, where we provide you with a backup and disaster recovery. And we have been in this business for more than 2 decades, providing with dealing with all sort of virtualization backup, your environmental based backups, you have the cloud workloads and much more, which we'll be discussing in the flow of the board. And sorry, I don't have any kids, and still I'm single and young, so nothing more to talk about on my side. I'm just free and independent person playing around. Young boy, yeah, young boy, yeah. Thank you so much. So I'll catch you up later in the session where we're going to talk about more on Vembu and its product that we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. It will be a very exciting webinar today. The technology vendors that were introduced to you today are leading the industry when it comes to multiple scenarios, but specifically for anything related to AVD and Windows 365. There is a lot to learn from them. Please pay attention to that. We do promise you a very fruitful webinar and very useful for your organizations and any future plans, if you have any plans. We're also, Pierre is coming to the region soon, like end of August, to visit. We'll be happy to have him meet some of you also in person if you want to. And whenever there is a chance also to get you engaged with them, I'll be happy to introduce you to them. They're some of the most supportive technology vendors to our region. I've never seen such a support, whether from the sales departments or pre-sales or the professional services and support team members. They're awesome. So please enjoy the demonstrations. I'll bring it back to you, Stu and James, to start the presentation.
Thanks, Maud. I'll just share my screen. Can you see my screen?
It is sharing.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, we've done introductions. 41, little boy called Julian, Leicester City fan, sales director at Tenzig. Now let me introduce you to Tenzig. So we are a solely focused thin and zero client vendor. We've celebrated our 20th year anniversary this year. And we're headquartered in Phoenix, Arizona, but our EMEA HQ is in the UK office where I am today. And from this office, we have a build team, a support team, a marketing team, a finance team. We're pretty much self-sufficient from the UK to the US office. We even have the UK CTO is based out of this office as well. And that's really useful for our customers in this region, because whenever we have certain customer developments or any or certain requirements that need to be met for your environment, then having him close at hand to be able to action them with his development teams that he looks after is very good. And it means that we can do this development or optimizations quickly. So I'll talk to you briefly about our ecosystem, and Stu's going to show you in a bit more detail about it with an actual hands-on look at what the operating systems and management tool look like. Before I do, I'll let you know some free things that we have. So we can arrange free demo units for you. We have a free enterprise cloud management tool, a free year advanced exchange warranty, and 3 years of software support is included in our desktop thin clients as well. We also offer free training and free access to the support team. So coming back to that ecosystem and what Stu will talk about today, these are the operating systems that we develop that we put onto our hardware or your existing hardware. And the majority of our thin clients or zero clients that leave the factory here in Leicester have this operating system on called NOS. And NOS is a locked down Linux OS that supports just a single connection client. And so if we're talking about AVD or Windows 365, we have one of these for AVD. And this basically includes the Linux receiver that we've developed with Microsoft that has all of the features and functionality that you would need for AVD, but it's installed in a locked down Linux OS that's very easy to configure, very easy to manage. It's there's no local area for users to access. It's hardened, it's locked down, it's secure. And so this is very useful for Microsoft Cloud products, because if you're connecting to a Windows OS in the cloud, would you really want to double the amount of Windows OSs that you have in your environment by putting a Windows laptop or a Windows thin client on the endpoint? So this lockdown Linux OS is ideal for Windows 365 and AVD. We also have a Citrix variant and a VMware variant as well. And if you remember, if you buy a zero client or a thin client from us, you get 3 years of software support. And if you're covered by software support, you can convert to for free for the zero client for AVD to the zero client for Citrix or VMware or vice versa. But you can also convert to PeakOS for free. And PeakOS is our Linux thin client OS that has all of the connection clients installed in it: AVD, Citrix, VMware Horizon, Windows 365, everything, but it just has more in it. So there's more to configure. There's a bigger build, more updates, more complex. But if you need that because you've got multiple environments that you want to connect to, it's great. But if you don't, then the zero client might be just less overhead for you. We also have Windows 10 IoT, which some use cases in Windows 365 or AVD is a requirement, but the Linux development has come on so fast in the last 2 years for AVD. I've had some various customers very recently where the Linux receiver is just good enough now. And so we've got a lot of confidence in it. We also offer a repurposing software, and this you can either boot live from a USB stick or install on existing hardware, and that's called RepurpOS, and Stu might show you that later as well. It's a great way to extend the life of existing assets and minimize the cost of deploying new hardware. All of those operating systems are managed by our free management tool called Tenzig Manager that Stu's going to dip into later. It can be installed either on premises or in the cloud, and it can automate the firmware, automate the templates when you plug in your thin clients or your zero clients or your repurpose OS. It can automate all of that process. It also has features such as shadowing, remote control, scheduled tasks, power management, reporting, and you can also do all of this over the internet. So if you've got home workers who want a repurposed laptop, or home workers, or you've got a new site that's popping up that isn't part of your corporate network yet, that you can still manage thin clients or zero clients or repurpose or 10 IoT over the internet with Tenzig Manager. And Tenzig Manager is completely free, so you don't have to pay for any extra licensing and you don't need to install any extra infrastructure for these features and functions. All of those operating systems can be installed on any of our hardware. And we split it up into 3 different use cases. The use cases for entry level, for those that don't need things like Teams optimization, and then those that do, and then those that need more than 2 screens. And it's just because of the use cases need slightly different hardware requirements to deliver the full functionality. So without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing now and hand over to Stu to show you a bit of what it looks like, and answer any technical questions that you may have. Over to you, Stu.
Cheers, James. So thanks for that introduction. So what I'll do is I'll share my screen, and to begin with, what I'll do is just show everybody the NOS-M operating system, the zero client operating system, just connecting to an AVD environment, and how to set that up out of the box, so you can see the simple steps that are taken to do that process. And then I will show you a little bit of repurposing, as James mentioned, the Tenzig management side of things as well. So to share this, and then, so I'm running a virtual machine just to basically simulate the NOS-M operating system on hardware. If you got a new device from us out of the box, this is the first things that you would see when you booted that device up. So it takes you through a 3-step quick setup wizard. So you normally choose the territory that you will be using the device in. So for my purposes, that will be Great Britain. And this will just set the time zone information and also the keyboard layout for your area, which you can then tweak as well manually at a later time. You set the time information for the device. And this can also be configured automatically using an NTP server, which we'll potentially look at a little bit later on, and then set the dates. Which is 13th. And then it takes us into the application setup. And as James mentioned, because NOS is a zero client OS, it is very small footprint. So basically NOS-M only comes with the Microsoft SDK for connecting to AVD and Windows 365, or using FreeRDP to connect to more traditional RDS services. So you can see here in the connection type window, we can choose the different types of connections that we want to use. So in our case, it would be AVD, Azure Virtual Desktop, for both AVD and Windows 365. You can also set the feed discovery URL. Generally speaking now, most customers are using the more modern AVD ARM method of connecting to AVD. AVD Classic was really when you used to have to set it up using the PowerShell scripts rather than the actual GUI that's now available within Azure. So we normally just leave it set to AVD ARM. Further down, if the device is being used by the same user on a continuous basis, you can the user's credentials within this area here. So you can enter your username and password, and also potentially your domain information, which can be used also in a hot desking environment as well. So I will just enter my domain there for a moment, and we'll come back to that. If we go to the Azure Virtual Desktop area, so there's a few settings in here, just really for the number of displays that you're using. You can set preferences for those. Also, if you've only got one AVD or Windows 365 resource available to you, you can set it to auto connect to that resource once you've done the initial login process. And if there are multiple resources available, then you could potentially automate logon to one of those resources by entering the name of that resource in this parameter here. So they're quite useful options available to you there. On the log off action, so when the user disconnects from their AVD or Windows 365 session, you can automatically reboot or shut down the device, ready for the next user to come along and use if you wanted to. But if you don't select this option, when the user disconnects and logs off their environment, it will just take you back to the initial login screen, which we'll see in a moment. So we do have some redirection available. So by default, drives are passed through, and also printer redirection. There is also support for smart card redirection and also webcam redirection. But as James indicated a little bit earlier, we do now have a beta program for Teams optimization within AVD on the Linux SDK. So with the camera redirection, that is normally handled by the client. So that won't be enabled in that case, because you would want the audio and video to be passed directly to the client and handled there. In the advanced section, there's just some simple options really for AVD in Windows 365. So you've got an option to display a connection bar. We can also show the host name of the terminal on the initial login screen, which is useful for providing support from the Tenzig manager. If you've got your help desk and somebody rings through with an initial problem, then the help desk technician can quickly find that device within the management tool and provide remote support. We've also got an option here which, if enabled, just puts a new icon on the initial login screen, which we'll see in a moment as well. And it just brings up a kiosk browser to Microsoft's Azure password reset URL, so that the user can then change their password themselves through that area if they do want to do that. So the settings themselves are very simple. It's literally really just a case of coming to the general section ordinarily and making sure the connection type and the feed discovery URL are set correctly. And then if we do want to have any user credentials entered within here, have those configured. But then if we just press the OK button, so this is the initial login window that we can see. You can customize this area. So this gray background can be changed with a background wallpaper for your organization, just to make it to your corporate imaging. And similarly, this dialog box window can also be modified with an uploaded image as well, to make it more in line with your corporate imaging as well. But ordinarily, we can just enter our username and password and press the login button to connect to our AVD or Windows 365 environment. Now, down here, you've obviously got some system functions. So you've got your power options for turning off the device or rebooting it. Then we've got access to the control panel, which takes us to the main setup area. And with it being 0 clients, it's very simple. So you've just got that application setup area for setting up AVD, Windows 365 or RDS. And then we have our peripherals set up under the hardware section. So any devices that are connected to the client can be configured through here. Further down here, we've got system functions, so time and date, which we configured during the quick setup wizard. That can also be configured with an NTP server, as I mentioned, just by entering the address in here. We also have the cloud manager. So this basically gives us the ability to be able to connect devices that are deployed anywhere. So out at home worker locations, over the internet, for example, and then connect those devices back to the Tenzig manager, which might be hosted on premise, or it could be installed in a data center or in the cloud like Azure or Amazon Workspaces, for example. So we can actually just create a HTTPS tunnel between the manager and the client so that we can still manage that device, providing things like new templates, firmware updates, and remote support with remote shadowing. There's also power options as well. So if the device is idle, and nowadays with more organizations being more eco-conscious, if the device is idle for a period of time, say 10 minutes, for example, you can set the device basically to either go into a suspended state, end the actual session to AVD or Windows 365, or power off the device, ready to be used again when the next user turns the device on. Security settings, though, this is quite important. So this allows us to be able to lock down the terminal so that the end users can't play around with any of the settings you may have deployed to the device. So here we can set a password. And that will then restrict access to the control panel from the initial login window. But you see here these options like allow display properties, allow sound properties, allow keyboard properties, mouse, network, and power options. You can still allow your end users empowerment or control over those types of peripherals. And that can be useful for them to just manage their own desk space. So if they've got multiple displays, they could set the primary or secondary monitors, the orientation. And if they're a home worker, for example, they could join their wireless home network as well through the network properties applet. But you've got the flexibility to be able to enable these and disable them. And as you can see, if we go back to the initial login window now, that is set as it is. Then those keyboard and mouse icons have now disappeared, but we've still got the ability to be able to go in and change the network settings or the display settings, for example. Over here, if we try and go back into the control panel now, it asks us for the password that we just set, and that can be managed moving forward, so you can change it on a monthly or a quarterly basis, for example, using templates within the Tenzig manager. So that's the security side of things. There's also VNC, which is used for remote shadowing. And again, this can work over remote devices across the internet using the cloud connector and the HTTPS tunneling. So by default, VNC is set to on demand. So this is a security mechanism. So it means that any incoming requests to the device will only be allowed from a Tenzig manager console or web console. So if you try to access one of the Tenzig clients from another VNC client like Ultra VNC or Real VNC, those requests will be rejected. But you can add further security options to this. So you can basically prompt the user with an accept reject dialog box so that they can accept that incoming request. And from the other end, so from the manager console side of things, you can set the client with a password so that when the technician attempts to connect to that device, they have to enter that password to be able to have that successful connection. And that just protects the client for if, for example, the help desk technician leaves their manager console open, goes away from their desk to make a coffee, someone else comes along and tries to jump onto one of the clients, they would need to be aware of that password to be able to have that successful connection go through. So there's just some additional items that can be configured to be able to harden the device in terms of remote shadowing and support. So with that set up, we can try and connect to, oh, just one other thing actually, once we go back into there, is the taskbar. So this is quite a useful item. So I normally like to use this. So with NOS, we just set it to a minimal type of taskbar, but you can have full display, and then we can set the orientation of where you want it to appear on the screen. So I'll just press OK, and as you can see now, we've just got this little sidebar that appears from here. And that's really useful because once we log in to our AVD or Windows 365 environment, which would be useful if we could get a connection. So let me just do that on another device. Let me just switch over to the repurposed device. So I was going to come on to this OS in a minute, but I'll just show you the connection to AVD. So it asks us for our MFA, which I just need to authenticate on my phone. And you would see exactly the same as what you're seeing here within NOSM as well. So you see basically all the resources that are allocated to your host pools as a user. So I can see my published applications and Windows desktops that are available to me as well. Where repurpose is different from NOSM is that in the background here, you can also access these applications and desktops straight from the desktop view. You don't get that within NOSM. You only have this window visibility available to you. But once this is presented, you can then just click on one of the resources and then it will complete that connection for you. But what I was trying to demonstrate within NOSM a moment ago is having the taskbar is useful because you can still get back to your resource list. And if you wanted to go into another published application or another desktop, you just need to initiate that session and then it will be available from this taskbar at the bottom, which you can then switch between using the buttons available to you. So that's really useful with having that sidebar available. But apart from this look and feel with repurpose, as James mentioned, this operating system just has more of the different clients available to it. So it does take a little bit more configuration to set up. So if any of you are interested in seeing any of these products in more detail, then get in touch with DistiLogics and we will probably set up a separate session with you guys to be able to go through it in more detail. So going back to the NOSM device, that's pretty much set up now. So if everything was working, what we could then do is automate the deployment to additional devices using the Tenzig Manager. So looking in the Tenzig Manager console, we have our client view at the top here. So any devices that are connected to the manager will be listed. So you see the details about those displayed. You see a job log of any processes that have been performed between the manager and the clients listed down here. And then over the left-hand side here, we have our groups, which is really powerful for logically managing our devices and also for configuring them moving forwards. You can right-click any of the devices in here, and you've got further options available to you. So you can create scheduled tasks for things to be performed out of hours, for example. You could do system functions like reboot and shut down the devices remotely. If the device is on the internal network, you can also power them on using Wake on LAN if available on the network. We can retrieve an individual device's configuration, and you can double click on that device and then you see all the areas that have been configured on that client. So you could potentially go in and modify the settings within here and then send any changes back to that individual unit. But where it becomes powerful is that we can create a template of this device, which we can then push out to other units so that they're automatically set up when they're deployed onto the network. So we can generate a template. Over the left-hand side here, you see I've got some groups available to me. So I've got one pre-configured already called DistiLogics. So basically, if I right-click there and go to properties, I can show you. So we've got auto population filters. So basically, we can auto populate the groups with devices based on certain criteria. So in this case here, we're filtering on the platform. So whether it's using NOS or repurpose, so one of our Linux in-house operating systems, but you can also select Windows 10 IoT for those devices as well. You can filter by the hardware models, filter by firmware versions, MAC addresses, computer names, and also by individual IP address ranges as well. which is what's allocated here. So any of these devices that match that criteria are then added automatically into the groups. And then we can basically set up automatic client configuration and assign templates or a template to the group. And you can auto name devices when they're added into the group. And also update the firmware as well, which can be particularly useful if you purchase a few devices. It might take you a long time to deploy those devices. So within that time frame, we might have released 2 new firmware packages. So you can download that off our website, assign it into this group setting here. And basically when those devices are connected to the network, they will do their DHCP lookup, learn the domain that they're a member of, and potentially you can configure the DNS server with an SRV record so that those devices know the location of the manager address. So they can automatically register with the manager. And then based on the criteria in these groups, get populated into the groups automatically and configured using these options in here. So it can really sort of speed up the process of deploying a new deployment by essentially just configuring a single device and then having all your additional devices configured using the group settings here. Also, you can remotely shadow devices as we saw earlier on. So it just brings up a VNC window. So literally you can see the local client and you can see also the session that the user is logged onto if you need to provide support there as well. Also, we can download log files centrally. So this is particularly useful again for with COVID, a lot of users working from home or hybrid working. So if those devices encounter a particular issue, the support team can request the log files off the device, and your customer's technicians can then download those log files to the manager centrally so that they can then be investigated further. So pretty much those are kind of like the quick items for setting up the devices. You can also push out firmware updates individually from here, and you can also set up, as I mentioned, scheduled tasks to be able to send out system messages to all of your devices, which can be particularly useful. For example, if you were looking to do some maintenance work in AVD, you could just ensure that all of your users had logged off successfully and saved any work potentially that may be lost while that maintenance is being performed. So there are a lot more features available within the Tenzig Manager Suite, which we don't have time to go through right now. But as I mentioned, you know, if you are interested in seeing any of the Tenzig products or applications in further detail, then just contact Mode and his team at Distilogics, and we can set up a separate session for you to do that. So I think
yeah, go ahead.
That about covers everything I need to probably go over for now, unless there's any questions from anybody.
Guys, you can ask your questions on like in the Q&A tab, and we will engage you. We would like to have it as an interactive session.
Yeah.
For the best use. Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Stu. So gonna switch now to Liquidware for their demonstration.
Thank you, Stu, for your interesting presentation. Thank you, Maud, for passing me now the screen. So I will share my screen in order to start. First, a few slides to explain and to tell you what we do at Liquidware, the different products we do have, and then a quick demo of our main product, or what's going to be the main topic of my presentation today, which is going to be FlexUp and FlexUp One. So today I want to talk to you about the products we have at Liquidware, but just before, a few words about what we are preparing or what we are doing at Liquidware. So the goal of Liquidware is to help the customer with giving more visibility, helping the customers to understand their environment and to monitor the environment. So being more visible and taking less time to understand what is happening in this environment. Giving portability as well, That means being able to move users from one environment to another, being able to move application across different Windows workspaces, and giving scalability, which means also adding more users, more companies, maybe when there are mergers and or different environments which have to be managed, like physical, virtual, cloud. All those different environments might be existing in the same company. And well, as Maud mentioned, the topic of today is AVD. And so usually, except if you're a brand new company, you first have a local environment or on-prem environment, and then you have to move to the next environment. So that's going to be part of the explanation and the added value we are providing with our Liquidware product. A few words about the company. So Liquidware has been founded in 2009, so we are not as experienced, I don't want to say old, but experienced as Tenzik.
If you're presenting something, you're not sharing your screen. I cannot see
you can't see the screen?
Oh, no, I thought.
Oh, okay, so did I? Just give me a sec. Thank you, Mo, for.
No problem.
Just have to go back here. So this should be it.
Yep.
Right. You see it now.
Yep.
Good. Okay. So the first screen or you should have seen was just this one. So you haven't lost a lot of things. Just a quick recap of what I mentioned earlier. So visibility, portability, and scalability. By the way, all the presentation I have here, Maud will be able to provide it to anybody who is interested. So don't worry. Everything will be available to the attendees. So as I was saying, just a few words about Liquidware. The company has been founded in 2009 by Ms. Sonia Pellichet, who's attending the session as well, and two other persons in the US. The HQ is in Chicago, and our EMEA HQ is based in Switzerland. The company is privately held, and we have key alliances partner like Microsoft and their AVD product. So, which is also a reason why we are really close to or able to provide efficient solution for the AVD and the transition when you need to move from your on-prem environment and want to go to this AVD environment. Multiple customers. I don't want to bother you with those different slides, so I'm going pretty fast until this one. So there's no logo, but there's one customer here, which is Saudi Telecom. We are dealing with Saudi Telecom since 2013, working with DistiLogics since 2015, also on the Saudi Telecom business. And as Maud mentioned, it will be end of August or early September, depending on the agenda of the project in Saudi for Saudi Telecom. So if you have any questions, if once I've finished my presentation and demo, you have any interest, feel free to connect with Maud, and he'll be able to plan and to help me to plan the visit in Saudi and in Dubai if needed, or having remote session once I'm over there. So do not hesitate, please, to ask Maud if you have time for a session, or if you have a specific project you want to work on. Different benefits related to Liquidware product is that we have, or we are 100% desktop focused. So we're not going everywhere with our product. So we know what we do, and we go 100% in that environment. And that goes also kind of in line with the product portfolio that DistiLogics is having, as was Stu presenting Tenzik earlier. We have also an agreement with Tenzik where we have an agent we can install on their endpoint when needed in order to be able to monitor the activity. I will come back to the monitoring product, but just in detail and mentioning that we are desktop or thin client or endpoint focus. We have very competitive solutions, and we are platform agnostic. So that is also very important, because today you may be in a Citrix environment or on a VMware environment, and you want to go to the Azure, the AVD solution, not a problem. We can help you to understand what is your environment. We can help you to design the resources needed in this new environment. And then we can also help you to migrate with our products. And then that's the last, or one of the last elements, which is validate the environment in which you are, and that your customer is happy with the solution you've provided. So preparing the successes criteria in order to have the sign off once the customer is, or once the project is finished. What are the products? Because I mentioned many different things we are doing, but what are the products we are having? So we have our Profile Unity product, which is the end user environment management. We have the application portability, that is the FlexUp solution, which I will demonstrate at the end of this session. And we have the monitoring and diagnostic product, which is our Stratosphere tool, which can help you to assess, understand, and monitor your environment. One thing you can see is that, again, I mentioned it, but now I really focus on it. We are agnostic. We can work in virtual environments, in cloud environments, on physical machines, as long as we are in a Windows environment. There are different times when you can use our different products. So again, when you intend to move from one environment to another, so when you need to plan, you can use our product. When you will onboard your user in a different environment or a new structure, you can use our product. And when you're in production, when you go live, you will still use our product. So anytime in those phases, you can use the Liquidware products. Profile Unity, this is just a summary. So that's these are elements I already mentioned, but that goes cross-platform. It helps to centralize and to go a bit faster on logons. It can be on-prem and cloud-centric, and that's also a solution to go with application management, which means we are not talking only about the solution we are providing with FlexUp and FlexUp One, but I'm definitely talking about other ways to deploy an application, which might be MSIX, might be AVD. There will be an interesting use case about AVD, by the way. I will mention it when presenting the FlexUp packaging console FinUp. So consider also the Profile Unity tool as a tool to manage your application or having a application strategy. I mentioned this already, so that's just a reminder. You will get it when you will look at the presentation. Different reason or different use cases when you want to use Profile Unity. One which is not mentioned here is when AppV will be end of life, 2026. You may want to move your actual AppV packages into another solution and provide them, or being able to push them to your end user on AVD. So that would be a use case, interesting use case for partners, for service provider to go for, and that might be a reason why to use Profile Unity to provide those packages, and why to use FlexUp in order to package or transform those packages. Here is just a picture, an image of all what we do with the Profile Unity console. And as you can see, the all those different modules here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, oops, sorry, 7, 8 modules are related to application management. So Profile Unity is not only a profile or end user management, but it's also definitely a tool which can help you to manage your application. Very quickly, it helps you also to move from one environment or from one OS to another, and give you compatibility between those different OSs. So you're in an on-prem environment with Windows 2016 or 2019 or Windows 10, and you go to AVD with Windows 11, then the tool here will help you to be kind of cloud stages, if I can use that word. So be ready to move to the cloud and move your end user to the cloud. We are standing at the very least layer of the desktop delivery with Profile, Unity, and FlexUp. I will not cover that too much because you certainly understood that. Doesn't matter which version of Windows you have, doesn't matter which physical, virtual, or cloud version you have, we can still help you with Profile, Unity, and FlexUp. Cloud staging, that's exactly what I mentioned just a few seconds ago. With Profile Unity, we are helping you to be ready to go on the cloud. And this is not an option. That means it is already in the product. When you buy the product, you have it. It's not a module you have to select, and it will be ready as soon as you install Profile Unity and run with it. FlexUp, this is the main focus, even though that's, well, by the way, that's going to be the main focus for my demo. But FlexUp, what is FlexUp? So FlexUp, it's not a virtualization of an application. So we're not completely creating a bubble around the application. We are kind of micro-isolating the application, which allows the application to talk with the master when it's needed, and to talk with other application, which might be installed on the master or might be published from another solution. And so the success rate is pretty high when using FlexUp and FlexUp 1. It's not Citrix app layering, because that goes much further than the Citrix app layering. The difference also is that we do not need to have access to the master image when packaging with FlexUp. So less overhead, less time spent waiting to have the master image ready. So we are completely decoupling the application from the master. So that means you can package with a Windows 10 machine and distribute your application on a Windows 11, 2019, 2016, 2022 server, not a problem at all. So I've mentioned all the different added value we have with FlexUp. Now, just a few words. Why do you want to use FlexUp, and what's the added value to use it in terms of decoupling from the master image? So FlexUp will help you when you need to upgrade your application because you don't need to touch the master image. And you can do that on the side, and you don't need to finish late in the evening or working on Friday and Saturday when it's normally your day off and there's no one in the office, at the customer office at least, and being ready to publish the application on the Monday. No, you don't need to do that, because you can do that on the side when the user is still using the application. Meaning also when the application is not on the master image, you can do all the work you need on your master image without having to consider what's going to happen if I do that on the master image to my own applications. So we are helping you to manage your master image faster, and we are extending, if I can put this way, the life shell of your master image, because we are avoiding the Windows rot you may experience when installing, uninstalling, upgrading, updating an application on the master image. This is just an example of the difference when using FlexUp versus other virtualization models. So you're not working with silos, but you're working mainly with just one master image, and then you're pushing the application based on different filters on the machine of the end users. Again, just a quick view of what's the difference when you're installing an application on your machine versus when you're using a solution like FlexUp. So when you're using FlexUp, it's only one VHDX you're mounting on the machine. For any reason it's not mounting, then the exe file won't be mounted, and you won't get any impact on the master image, which is much simpler than when you have to install the application on your Windows machine and you have multiple files and programs which are, or registries which are touched, which won't be the case with the HDX. All the benefits here are.
If you allow me to ask, like, what is Windows routing and virtual machine routing? What happens to those?
That means when you're installing an application, then you're touching different files or different elements in the system. And so when you're doing an upgrade or an update, some files or some registries are not useful anymore and should be uninstalled. Sometimes they are, sometimes they are not, which means there are some elements which are staying on the machines, on the image, and should not. So the size of the image is a bit bigger. The interferences can happen with other elements, other registries in the system. So that would be the Windows image rot, as I mentioned. So that means your Windows image will be bigger and more complicated to manage and have interferences. So we are avoiding all that with the FlexUp and FlexUp One installation of an application. Very quickly, also, in order to know which application you can package and which are not packageable, we have a partnership with App Readiness. Here, that is just an example. And you can see what are the applications you can package with FlexUp, what are the applications you can package with AVD, Apex, NSIX, Synapse, and App RDS. So that's kind of helping you as a partner to know where to go and what you can propose to your end customer. FlexUp One, we have white papers on our website. Do not hesitate to go there. And what I'm going to do is just before showing you, I'm going to show you a quick video and then a demo on how do we get to that video. Why do we get to that video? I hope I still have 5 minutes with Mimo.
Yeah, within that limits, please.
Okay, cool, excellent. So first thing is, I was mentioning we are partnering with Microsoft, and as you can see here on my screen, just going to enlarge this a bit bigger. So we are on the Azure Marketplace. So you can find us, you go on our website, go under solutions. So solutions for cloud, and then you're here. And you just have to click on Microsoft Azure, and you will reach the Profile Unity and FlexUp page dedicated to AVD. Then just a quick resource also, you can see a comparison between Liquidware, Citrix, VMware solutions for FlexUp and micro isolation. That's what matrix. You will get the link also on the presentation. And another element here, in order to know which application you can package with FlexUp and FlexUp One, we have a tool named Stratusphere UX. This is the tool I was talking, where we have an agreement, or we have a partnership also with Tenzig to deploy an agent. This agent will be able to give you what is the user experience, but also give you an inventory of what are the applications in use or installed and used or not used on the different machines. And based on that, well, we've got an application strategy report that will give us kind of the same information as the app readiness I was mentioning earlier, but it will definitely tell you, okay, this is the application you have in your environment. This is the version of the application you have in your environment. And yes, you can package it, or no, it's not a good idea to package it. Same here, also a recommendation. You can choose if you want to follow it or not, but there's a recommendation on how to provide the application to your end user. Is it better to have it on the master image, or is it better to provide it through another solution like packaging with FlexUp? Once you've packaged your application with FlexUp, you want to push it or publish it to your end user. So you can publish it through mem in tunes, not a problem. So AVD, no problem. Everything is already ready here, and you will have to package your application. So I'm going to show you after the video how to package the application. I have a quick video. Well, basically it's 4 minutes, but it's accelerated here. So what you will see is that on my desktop, there are no application installed at the moment. I'm going to connect to my OneDrive. So you can see OneDrive, and in my OneDrive, I have a folder named FlexUp1 applications. So those applications are VHDX. They've been packaged and pushed on my OneDrive. And the only thing I need to do is install them or run them. Here you saw there was a message. This message is not mandatory. This is a message we can avoid to have by installing an installer on the machine, and then we can start the application. So you could see that here we are running Camtasia, and we can really go very quickly through this application. We can do some editing in on the files, and we can also then have order, or we can run multiple FlexUp1 packages or application on the same machine. Here is just a script in order to run all the packages I have here on my machine, on my OneDrive, sorry. And you'll be able to see here in the start menu that I have Photoshop, which is installed. So I've got all the Photoshop or Adobe suite installed on this machine. I've got also Inkscape, InView, sorry. And so we have a lot of possibilities here, and you can work with those programs. If they need to connect or to talk to each other, as it's micro-isolation, that will do, they can talk together. Here again, it's in add remove program. That's where you would see the application installed. So you can see Camtasia, you can see Adobe. So it looks like it's native and kind of almost native in the system. So Microsoft AVD will recognize that as a native application. So that's much easier for the integration once you're in AVD. Now think, I was talking about AVD, but the application, we packaged it on a Windows 10 machine locally. And so we can package once and reuse the same package in different situations, in the cloud, on VDI, or on physical machines, and on laptops. So with FlexUp1, you're going to be able to use the application in an online and offline mode. So that's also powerful when you need to run FlexUp. How did we go to this? How do we get the application? How do we package an application? So that's what I'm going to show you right now. So first, we need to have a FlexUp packaging console. Here we have the button Create. If you're a service provider, maybe you already did a few packages for one customer and you want to reuse that package, because you can. The only thing you have to change is the license. So you can import FlexUp packages. If you already have your FlexUp packages existing and you want to create a FlexUp1 package, so the difference between those two is FlexUp is running with the Profile Unity infrastructure. The FlexUp1 package doesn't need to have the Profile Unity infrastructure. And instead of using Profile Unity console to distribute your application, well, you can use OneDrive, you can use Dropbox, you can use Intune, you can use SCCM, you can use GPOs to provide the application. Whatever distribution solution you have can be used in order to push a FlexUp1 package. So we can also convert AVDs. Think about that, because 2026 is pretty soon. So you will have customers who wants to have their AVD packages transformed or converted in another solution which is supported and which is working. So with AVD, with FlexUp1, you can, or FlexUp, you can convert those packages into a FlexUp package, and we can convert MSIX. So very quickly here, I want to create a new package. Here I'm going to show you I've already created one, but I want to create another one. So I'm going to give a name. This is the Logix test. I can do versioning. I can then select where do I have my installers. I'm going to take a small application, so Notepad++. It's not very representative of what we can do, but based on the time I have, I'm not going to take a Windows or a Microsoft application to package, which is, by the way, absolutely possible. Then I can select the type of package, VHDX, that goes in VMware environment and Windows environment, if I can differentiate that this way, and then create a FlexUp1 package. Then I can click Create. Just to show you what's going to happen is when I click Create, here I have my DistiLogic test environment or file, sorry. And so it's mounting a VHD X. At the same time, somewhere on my machine, I'm going to get the Notepad++ installer booting, and then I will go next in terms of installing the application. So here I have my Notepad++ here. Okay, here it is. Next. I agree with license. Next. Create a shortcut on the desktop. If I do that, that means when I will publish the application, all the user will get the shortcut on their desktop, install, and then it's done. Finish. Yep, finish. You notice, by the way, there's a reboot. So in case I need to reboot the application for the installation, I can do that. That won't have any impact on the machine. And while it's finishing, so it's unmounting, and it will create my FlexUp and FlexUp1 package. How does it look like? Well, for example, here I have already a few packages. So I created this package, DistiLogic package a bit earlier. So I have 3 packages or 3 files here for FlexUp package, and I have 1 file for the FlexUp1 package. Our Notepad++ is finished here, so you have the information about what happened. That already seems to be good to go. Let's go back to this DistiLogic pack. Okay, so I can do a save. Oops. Coming back to my share where I've saved my application, DistiLogic tests, and if I'm starting it, hopefully I won't have the demo effects. No, that should work. That should work. And yes, I want to have my Notepad++ coming in. It's on the other screen, but it's coming in a few seconds. Now, while it's coming, I can just show you one more thing here. Is hopefully it's not too small for you. I have a GIMP software, which is a package or a FlexUp1 package I have created earlier here. It's mounted as a VHDX, and I also have my DistiLogic test, which is my application Notepad++, and it's been mounted, and that should come in a few seconds, hopefully here. One more thing here while it's mounting. This is the uninstall or change program. So here you see I have GIMP, but that's as a FlexUp package. I don't have yet this Notepad++. Let's see if I'm doing a refresh. Do I have my DistiLogic? No, I don't have it yet. Let's see if it's coming. In the meantime, is there any question, and you need anything you would like to add? No, nothing.
So it's mainly you're packaging it and you're like disaggregating it from the golden images, right?
Sorry, Maud, I didn't get your...
What I'm saying is that it is mainly around disaggregating those applications from the golden images.
Yeah, the idea is really to decouple the application from the master image. And so also being able to reduce the size of the image you need for, instead of storing or installing the application and using more space within your master image and machines you're providing to your end user, well, you can use this.
Makes it easier for migrations and updates and stuff like that, right?
Exactly. Well, the interesting part, very, very interesting, thank you, Mo, is that once you have also created your Flexa package, you can clone it in order to upgrade it or update it. And so that has, again, no impact on the production. That means you can go back home on a Thursday evening without being late for a barbecue or parties, and you don't need to work on Friday and Saturday. And then once you go back to the office on Sunday, then you've got your application which are ready, and you can publish it to your end users. It seems that my Notepad++ is not working here. I don't know why yet.
To move
but
on.
I've got the little tabs. So that's the application I've created just earlier just before our session. And you can see it's a PHDX, which is mounted on my machine here. It was not on the machine earlier, and I have the application working here. So this is it. This is, I think I went a bit over the time I was allowed to have, but thank you for the time, and thank you, Pranav, for your patience. And then I'll leave it to you guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So we switch now to the Vembu team. I think, Pranav, you're going to handle that demonstration.
Yeah, I'll take care of the demonstration. And thank you so much, people. Your presentation, the previous teams like Team 10Gig and Liquidware were great with your presentation. Thank you so much. So hello all.
Here to stop your screen share so that Pranav can take care of it all.
Here we go.
Go ahead, Pranav, please. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just share my screen. See, I hope everyone is able to view my screen though.
I can see it.
Yeah, great. Thank you. So hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Pranav. As said before, one of the senior product analysts from the product management team. Now, what we're going to discuss is regarding data backup and disaster recovery. So there's more towards the data protection market, where you, whatever the data that you have in your environment, you just take a backup of them, store them in a particular storage of your choice, and then you restore them at times of a disaster. So the reason that data backup and disaster recovery, or I would say the complete market term as data protection, important because now we see a lot of threats around the globe. Either it could be a man-made, more like a ransomware attack or a malware attack, or something like a disaster, natural disaster that is striking around the globe. So all these causes a loss to a data, which obviously could put a business into a low reputation if the data is lost. So now the digital world is completely running around with the data. So I hope this data protection market will be available till the data is available. So yeah, now on more AI into the new digital organization things. So obviously there's no end for data to be flowing in. And here's where we, the team Vembu Technologies, comes in. So we have been partnering with Logics for more than a couple of years now. So let me talk more about Vembu here. So Vembu is a backup and disaster recovery vendor who've been in this data protection market for more than 2 decades, with our footsteps in 100+ countries. And our solution will cater to all the backup and disaster recovery needs for all business types. Either it could be a small, medium business, a mid-range business, or an enterprise class business. So we'd be able to quench your thirst for the backup and disaster recovery. So that is where we flow in, and these are the technology partners who we have been partnering with them, and will be partnering with them in the future, as we have some of the industrial rich features that is going to be coming up down the lane in our upcoming releases. These are a few of our customers. I'm just skipping the part now. I'm directly dumping into what we do. So as Vembu has two product portfolios under it. One is the BDR suite and another one is the BDR cloud. So more towards the BDR suite, like this is the backup and disaster solution. It is more like an unified solution where I can call that as a comprehensive backup and disaster recovery solution, which is more flexible for your environment. We have two installers of it. This is more like a software which can be deployed on your Windows machine, and we also have a Linux Ubuntu installer for the same. So this software, as I told you, can be deployed on a physical machine of yours, a virtual machine, or even in a cloud instance to configure backups. So one comprehensive solution that could help you to configure the backups for your whole environment that you have. Either it could be your on-prem or your cloud. You can just configure it from this one single solution. And this is the BDR suite that suits all the models which I just said. On the other hand, we have the BDR cloud. Nothing much of a difference, but the only thing is this is a cloud backup solution where you'll be storing the data in a BDR cloud, which is hosted in AWS as of now. And not much of a difference that flows into it. Let's see more about the BDR cloud, what we have in our, the line product flow line for you. So the comprehensive solution of BDR suite with which you can back up your data center and private cloud, which includes your virtual environment as well as your physical environment, along with your application service that could be taken a backup. Apart from this, we have the SaaS application backup, we have the endpoints backup, and the cloud workloads backup. When I say SaaS applications, I am touching directly to the point of or the agenda of the meeting now. So with which you can back up your Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace. Here, Microsoft 365 is one of the main concept that we were talking throughout. So with this solution of BDR suite, you can back up your mailbox, user mailboxes, which includes the mails, contacts, calendars, OneDrive in case of Microsoft 365, along with which you can also back up their SharePoint and Teams. So this cloud data, which you are taking a backup, can be stored either on your on-prem storage of your choice, or you can even put it on a cloud storage of your choice. So that is where the BDR suite plays a main role. So like if any of your users' mail has been corrupted, then you can restore the mail from the backup that you have configured. Or if a user before leaving an organization has deleted some mails of his, then you can restore those mail either to the same user account or to a different user account. That is what we have in our lane for the SaaS applications. Apart from this, we have the Google Workspace, which is more or less similar to what we provide for Microsoft 365. And we have this endpoint. So either on the whole, people, if there is an endpoints level backup or a server level backup, either it is running as a virtual machine in a cloud instance, or if you have the a virtual machine running on a Citrix or a Nutanix or whatever it is, or as a physical machine, you can take a disk image level backup for your Windows machine completely. So a disk image level backup of the Windows machine, though you're taking a physical machine backup, you can later convert it into a virtual machine with the multiple recovery options that we provide for your Windows specifically. And for Linux, on the other hand, we provide a file or folder level backups at both for a server level or as well as for a desktop operating system of it. And for endpoints, we also have the Mac endpoints to be taken a backup. Now, on the whole of the endpoints, there's one point that I have to stress on, like even if you're, you have your endpoints to be traveling with which you're traveling around the globe, all that you need to do is you just have this one backup server settled up in your headquarters. Obviously, from wherever around the globe, the data will be taken a backup and it will be sent over the WAN to the backup server, and it will be stored in the storage attached to the backup server. So that is the point that we have for endpoints. And on the other hand, we also have the cloud workloads backup. So specifically, if you have any of your EC2 instances in AWS, or you can even have your Azure instances, we can back that up at an instance level and get that stored locally on your storage, and even bring it up as a virtual machine on your local on your on-prem environment. So these is something that we have in our BDR suite. And here on a virtual environment platform, we provide an agentless backup solution for your VMware and Hyper-V. Apart from that, there is a KVM or hypervisor, which has also been added, but now it is in the beta program. So you can even check that up, or the beta program where we have the KVM. That is also an agentless KVM hypervisor level backup for the virtual machines that we offer. And in the case of cloud workloads, the Azure is also a part, which is also in the beta program. So we'll be launching that up in our upcoming release as a complete full general availability feature for all. So this is just about the backup that I've said, which you can take a backup of these environment. Now I'm just showing you the architecture. So here's a backup server. So as I told you, this BDR suite is completely a solution software, which you can deploy it on your environment. Either it could be a physical, virtual, or cloud instance. You just install the software, make sure it satisfies the system requirements. So once you install it on the machine, add a storage to it. This storage could be your block storage, which could be your on-prem storages, such as a local hard drive, or if you have any of your network drives such as NAS or SAN, you can even include that as your storage repository. On the other hand, if you have something related to cloud storages like AWS S3, Azure Blob, any of your S3 compatible storages such as Minio, Wasabi, Blackblaze, Scality, you can even use that. Or you have your Google Cloud storage account, you can even use that as your storage repository. So once the storage is added, your backup server setup is complete. So from this one single backup server, you would be configuring the backups for all your virtual environment, your physical environment, your files and application level backup on your Windows, Linux, and Mac, your SaaS application backup, and your cloud workloads. And if at all you wanted to have a secondary copy of your backup data, you can just install an offsite DR server in your remote or a branch office, then add a storage to it. You'll have the secondary copy of your data, backup data, to be stored in your offsite DR location. So this might help, like even if your complete backup server crashes down, you could be able to restore your data from this offsite DR location. On the other hand, if any of your production site goes down, you'll be able to restore their data from this backup server. So the backups that we configure for virtual environment and as well as the physical machines of Windows, it's going to be a complete image level backup. And you'll be having a forever incremental type of backup. So not much of a storage space would be occupied. And moreover, we have all the data to be encrypted with AES 256-bit algorithm. So it is end-to-end protected. So even at the flight, your data is all encrypted and you don't have to worry. So one is the encryption, and another option that we provide is adding a password over that encrypted data. So if you wish, you can add a password over that encrypted data. So, but make sure if you forget the password, you won't be able to restore the data, delete the backup job from the backup server, or edit the password that you have already entered. So make sure that you have the password to be secured. So that is one of the security feature that we have even for your backup data. And more on to it, we also have one thing that is, that is more unique to us, because we have our own patented file system. So our patented file system is dubbed as Vembu Hive file system. Whatever the data that you take a backup in a block level will be broken down in the form of chunks, like a minimum file size of 100 MB or 512 KB. We'll just break it up into the form of chunks. We disparate it and store it in our own file format. So Without the product of Vembu, no one can restore your data. And moreover, if a ransomware or if any particular file while you have configured for backup is affected, though we take a backup, it won't affect the previously configured backups. That is one of the main thing that we have. In a backup chain, when you configure a backup, if there is a file that is corrupted, we take a backup, but it won't affect the previous configured backup. Only the particular timestamp will be affected, which you can identify by doing a data integrity check, which is an automated process. When you enable, every 24 hours it'll mount the data, boot the data, and take the screenshot of that data and showed up in your reports, so that not you can ensure that your data has been booting up as a virtual machine or so. So yeah.
Allow me, Pranav, I want to have a comment here to the audience. Like with ransomware attacks, when you lose control and you lose data, backup is probably the magic stick to save that organization's life. So
exactly.
when you have your backup and you have all of these measures to make sure that the ransomware cannot access your backup data and it cannot mess up your backup data, like that encryption that they talked about, the extra password, the Vembu patent their own file system, that which means that even if they try to access your backup data, they won't be able to recover that data. And did you also allow like to lock the right jobs and to not allow anyone to write on that backup data and stuff like that? So are these are the layers to protect from a ransomware attack?
Okay, so Mohammed, regarding the ransomware, I just wanted to stress more on it, because there is something called as 3-2-1 backup policy. One thing I have to say on general people, so this is for everyone here, or rightfully you brought it up, Mohammed, at this point. See, I can't predict the ransomware, but what I can do is I can secure my environment from ransomware. As I told you, this software is more like a backup and disaster recovery, but not an antivirus software. So what we are trying to do, or we suggest our people to do, is having a 3-2-1 backup policy. So having 3 copies of your data to be stored in 2 different storage mediums and 1 copy to be in your offsite copy will ensure this you'll be in I could say that you will be secured enough. Okay, so even if one person, see, ransomware is nothing, just a malware or an encrypted file a person takes in, and he asks for ransom to give you a decryption key for it. So in such a case, if you have multiple copies and you are well assured that the data that you have taken a backup cannot be broken down, or the concerned person can't see what data he has, then you already have a data. You can very well say the person, sorry, I can't provide you with any ransom. You can just use that data. If you can break it up, I have another copy to go with. So this is like you can have a 3-2-1 backup policy. That is completely about how you plan your backup to come up. That is backup strategy. So our solution provides you the opportunity to have this 3-2-1 backup policy, and one among them is having an archival data in tapes. So I believe everyone must be aware of the Google's data, which was affected by a ransomware, and Google, well, hopefully they had this tape backups to bring back their data that were affected. It was in a right span of time Google was doing it. So but yeah, that is how tape was well known in the medium. And in BDR suite we also have this native tape backup support. So you literally have multiple copies of data to be stored in 2 different medium. Like one, you can have it on your on-prem storage, like your directly attached storage or NAS drive or SAN drive, and another copy of the data we have something called as backup copy, which you can have it even in your cloud storage, and another is an offsite copy. So all these are there for you. You have multiple copies to be secured enough. And one more thing that I wanted to add, or something which is in our roadmap, is the immutable storage, which you rightfully said, warm. We call that as warm in a short term, like write once, read many. Not much. You can't write over and over that file again and again. So we are trying to bring that up. This is in our roadmap, and we hope within another 6 months of time, if every testing goes well, we're already in the development phase of this immutable backups. So once that comes up, everyone will be more secured with this backup solution. Yeah, and yeah, thank you. That was the main course that I wanted to talk about. And the next to it is we have something called as key features of BDR Suite C. People, backup technology, to be frank enough, throughout the world, the backup technology is going to be the same. If I'm going to take a backup of my Windows machine, then obviously I have to rely on the VSS technology to take a backup. That's a volume shadow copy technology to take a backup. But how I store the backup data, how I provide you with a multiple recovery options is where each of the competitors plays a great role in this market. And the BDR suite is unique in the than our competitors because of these multiple reasons that I've just listed down here. One, we have the simple and the centralized UI. I'll tell you why we have made everything to be simple and all in a centralized UI at the later stage, but just have a note of it that we have a simple and a centralized UI from one single scope of window, you can back up all your virtual, physical, cloud, and SaaS applications. And we have this where it left off feature, which is more like, when there is a transfer of backup packets from your source to your backup server, even if there is a network interruption, you don't have to start all over again. It is only from where it exactly left off, it will continue to move. So that is how the product is being designed. That is even available for the cloud backups. For even your Microsoft 365 account, when you take a backup, you store the data on your on-prem storage, and there was suddenly a network interruption or a network failure, you don't have to take again from all those 100 gig or 1000 gigs of data that was relying from the cloud. It will just pause from where exactly the previous backup left, and then it will continue. So this is available even for Microsoft 365 and rest of the other products that you have or that you wish to take a backup of. And then we have this unique reverse and forward incremental approach. This is specifically because we store our backup data in the form of chunks. So when I click to restore a particular incremental timestamp, I'm not going to restore only that change that happened, because incremental is completely the change that we track and we store it. So it is not only the change, but instead the previous line of backup along with the golden copy of the backup data will be restored till that timestamp. So that unique feature of forward and reverse incremental is being sorted down since we expose our incremental as a virtual full. That is one of the thing. And efficient storage management technique because of our proprietary file system, which I just said, because in this file system, we compress the data, we encrypt the data, and moreover, we flag some of the redundant copies and we remove those. It is not exactly more like a deduplication, but literally like somewhat related to it on a software basis. Okay, and we have the best-in-class retention technologies. You have both time-based or version-based retention, as well as the grandfather, father, son methodology of retention to archive your data for longer period of time. So even in 1 year of data, you want to go back and restore, you have it in our software. And you have the secured backup, as I told you, that is through the AES 256 over the WAN. We send the data and the email notification. See, people, when we ask like how this data how it will help to comply with the international standards, I would say we have a complete reporting that provides you or helps you with the detailed whatever that has been happening at the back end for the backup process. or the restore process. So that gives you the time range, the complete size, the original size of the data, and the compressed size of the data. All these we recorded in our reporting, and these reports can be set as email notifications at regular intervals. It will knock your email addresses, email IDs at specific when scheduled. Okay, so with this reporting, you can even download it as your local CSV file format for your internal audit purposes. And that's how the explicit reporting that we provide helps you. And the clutter-free and flexible deployment is what we more concentrate on. So installing this software, not much of a time it would take. It is just a simple click and run through. Okay, within 15 minutes, you'll be able to install the product and play more with it. The reason that I said the simple and centralized UI would be in this next session, because this is a latest survey that took around the customers who have recently joined Vembu, or who just started to use our product. These are the status that they have mentioned. That is, our product has been 3 times faster with the backup and recovery that we provide, and which is less than 5 minutes. You can instantly bring up your machine as a virtual machine with the number of recovery options that we have, and the 3-2-1 rule, correctly, like Mohammed was pointing. That is the 3-to-1 rule that helps to secure your data against your ransomware. And not much of more than 15 minutes it will be required when you follow the exact system requirements that is being provided by experts. And within 15 minutes, you will be installing the software. And one more thing is, this is cost-effective solution in the market. You can save up to 70%. And more, if I'm going to say about 70% of saving, I should not provide a software that is more complicated, that involves only a particular member to get itself trained and then start using it. So I should develop a software which is more easy for anyone to log in and start using. Even a 6th grade kid can start using the BDR suite software. That is the latest test that we provide. And our response to the support that we have, that 24/7 industrial best SLA that we provide, 24/7 round the clock, you have a support team. If you have any doubts, you can just reach out to them and they'll help you with the required answers at times. So this is what the BDR suite has for you. And we also have this 30 days of free trial in our market. So you can just download it from our website and start using it. And one more thing that I wanted to present here is, okay, I hope guys, you could see my screen.
Yes, I can see.
Yeah, this is my product. Okay. See, our product is a web-based console. As I told you, it is a software. I just installed it in one of my demo machine. And here is a web-based console that you see. This machine is literally around a couple of miles away from me. I'm just putting the IP address of the machine with the 6060 port number. I'm able to view the screen in my web browser. I'm just logging in with a default username and password, which is admin and admin, as shown here. Yep, thank God. Okay, so ta-da, I have my backup software here for you. The reason that I said it is a comprehensive solution is I have segmented in such a manner. One thing is, when I click on data center, private cloud, and endpoints, I have this VMware, Hyper-V, Windows disk image or file and folders, Linux file and folders, and Mac file and folders, all are available here. If you don't want to see any such options, you can just apply it so that you won't see that option in the data sources that you're going to add. And I have it for the cloud workloads. As of now, I have for AWS, but as I told you, Azure is in our beta roadmap, beta program. So if you want to try it on Azure, just do let me know. We'll provide you the beta link for that. And you have the SaaS applications, the Microsoft 365 and Google Workspace, and the applications and DBs where you can back up your Exchange server, your SQL server, your SharePoint server, and your MySQL. So these are more like the individual database level backup that I'm going to provide with. But if your database is residing or hosted on a Windows machine, then you don't have to worry. By taking a complete image level, disk image level backups, you can ensure application consistency, so that while I take a complete image of your physical machine, I'll be in the later stage to restore it, restore the application items granularly. And that's the case that I'll also have for VM level backups that I've already set. And here, the storage options that we provide, like you can have a block storage, you can have an object storage. So block storage could be your local storage volumes, or if you want to add any network drives like NASOSAN, you can include that as your storage repository. Choose the scale out. So whenever the storage gets filled, you can just continue with that. And disk rotation is also an option that we have it. And object storage would be your cloud storage options, which I mentioned: Amazon S3, S3 compatible, Azure, and Google Cloud. So reason that we are providing with your own storage option, because there are a lot of GDPR compliances that is playing into role. So when you use your own resources as far as storage is concerned, you'll be safe enough and happy to play with the software. And the configuration part is all over here. All that, before you configure the backup, you just need to do is just go click on data sources, and whatever the environment that you wanted to add, just click add it, and you configure the backups for it. So here's the detail for Windows image level backup. If it is a server machine, I can push an agent automatically by providing the IP address or the DNS name, and there should be a connectivity between the source machine and my backup server. Yeah. Once it is done, obviously the agent can be pushed, or I can directly download the agent, install it on my source machine, Windows machine that I wanted to take a backup. Then once the source machine gets connected, I can configure the backups for it. The main thing that you have to note in any backup solution, specifically in the case of backup server of BDR suite, is we provide you with an RPO from every 15 minutes. So within a time span of every 15 minutes of interval, you can configure your backups. So that is the case that I wanted to mention. So I'm just going to rush around. When you configure a backup job, you can choose which repository you wanted to store that up, either on a block storage or object storage for individual backup jobs that you're going to choose. And here is the list of, if it is a VMware, you can select the virtual machines, or if you're going to choose for a Windows machine, just go to Windows, disk image, or a file or folder, give them a backup job name, choose the repository where you want to store. Here is a disk image that has been shown. So you can select the particular disk, move forward. If you want to, this is a guest processing, like if the Windows machine has hosted any applications, then you can use this option to enable the application aware processing, so that you will be able to restore that application of Microsoft specifically at a granular level. And next is the scheduling part. This I wanted to say, like every 15 minutes you can run your backups. That's a minimum RPO that we provide. And you also have the daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis of backup, or after a particular backup job, or you have this one-time backup. This is more also like a warm type of backup. So only once a golden copy of your backup data can be created. So whatever the backups that you create, the initial backup will be a full backup followed by its incremental. So if at all you need any extra full backups, you can choose with synthetic or additional full and provide full. And here is the retention option. So you can enable this retention. So once you enable the retention, you have the basic retention either on a version basis or time basis, or you also have this GFS type of retention that is available for you. And this is the encryption that I was talking to you all about. So once you enable this encryption, you can go with a custom password. So your data is already encrypted with AES 256. When you enable, you have this custom password to be added. And we also have made a note to keep you aware, or that you don't forget your password when you add it. And next is a stage where you review. And if you want to run this backup job immediately, you can just run it and save it. That's it. So once you run a backup job, obviously you can check the backup job detail at the recovery page. Just go to the recovery, restore backup data. You have multiple backup jobs that you have configured. And here's the original size of the backups, and here's the compressed size of the backups that you have. And here is my, one of my Windows machine that I've taken a backup, disk image level, which when I try to restore, I'll be able to see multiple recovery options here. I can instantly boot it up as a virtual machine. I can like within a targeted VMware host or on a Hyper-V host instantly. That would be more like within the RTO. Maybe I can say it as an RTO. Within 15 minutes, I can achieve this. And I have this, I'll just talk about the instant options because it is more towards the disaster recovery. The other instant option is file level recovery. So any particular file or folder that you instantly need it or critical files, you can restore it using this file level recovery option. And then you have this disk mount option. So this disk mount will be available only for Windows machines if you have installed the backup server on your Windows machine, because we use this disk management service to mount the disk from where you can grab your files and folders from the backed up data. And you also have the option, something called as Microsoft Azure. So even if there's a physical machine on-prem or a virtual machine on-prem, you can back up the data and restore it by spinning up as a VM on Azure, Microsoft Azure, using this recovery to Azure option. And then you have, as I told you, if you have enabled the application aware processing over there in the previous backup configuration, you will be able to restore your application items of Exchange, SQL, Active Directory, and SharePoint granularly. So that is the option that we have with this complete endpoint level backup for Windows. Whereas for rest of the files, Linux and Mac, it'll be more like a file or folder level backup, which you can restore it at a file or folder level alone. And here to the topic of us, the SaaS application backup, where you can add your Microsoft 365 organization, obviously with the super admin privilege. So you have the adding of Microsoft Azure and multiple options that you have, like either with the organization account or automatically or a manual process, which also has the steps nearby to help you out with. And once you add the organization, you can configure the backup for that from the configure backup Microsoft 365. So in this, just give a backup job name, choose where you want to store the backup data that you're going to take a backup. And here you can select the organization and choose again what all the data that you wanted to take a backup. Like, is it a user mailbox? So the group mailbox or the SharePoint sites or Teams, you can select that and configure the backup. The rest of the configuration is not much of a difference that you would see. It's all going to be the same. And once you configure the backup, just go to the recovery page over here. And here in the recovery, click on restore. So you can restore the user mailbox. This is a user mailbox which we configured for backup with the time range, with the recent timestamp. So I'm going to choose a mailbox here. I'm sorry. So in this, I can restore the entire mailbox or any particular mails within the mailbox I can restore by selecting the inbox. I can select the mails. If I want to view the mails, I can even view the mails, what the detail it holds, which I can later download it in a Outlook file format directly from here. So if I want to view the mails, yeah, it is loading up. It will show you what it has. Okay. Yeah. So here's the mail detail. So all this I can view before I restore. So I can select the mails accordingly, any particular mails, and go to restore option. And I have multiple restore option for my mail level restore. One thing that I can do is I can download it as a PST, or I can download it as an EML, or download it as an MBox, or that is more like an offline restore. And another one is download to a restore to a different organization, is from one tenant of Microsoft 365 to another tenant that I have. And also I have some of the restore options by default, like restore to the same user mailbox or to a different user mailbox is going to be the default options, which I'll be also seeing for the restoration at yeah, the restoration of my, there we go, 1 minute. Yeah, restoration of my OneDrive, calendar, events, and contacts. Whereas for OneDrive, I can even restore it. I can download it in a zip file format or something. I can select the files, and I have an option to restore to a custom location where I can even download, choose a folder and restore it in a zip file format over there. So that's the option that I have for SaaS application backup. So, and moreover, people, this solution, as far as BDR suite is concerned, you have multiple options here. You can select your offsite DR, you can set it up. And if you want to have a check on all the backups, BDR backup server, as well as the offsite DR server, to see what is the exact reporting that is going on, you can use a separate server tool called 360, which is only for the monitoring purpose. You have the complete management of users, the tenants. You can have this multi-tenancy option specifically suitable for your MSPs or resellers, whomsoever is concerned. Like, you can group your customers as tenants and proceed further along with their entities, so that one group doesn't know what the other group has configured for backup in detail. And there's a credential management settings, and the SMTP and web proxy settings are also available. The next immediate step that I want to talk about, not much taking your time, is about the report. So what about the configurations that you have made? You can either configure the email notifications. If you have a ConnectWise, we have a ConnectWise integration as well. So you can use it for ConnectWise ticketing, which raises as a board, and you can check the reports in such a detailed file format. So it gives you the detail, like when the backup job was created, what is the recent schedule that has happened, what is the original size, what is the compressed size, the last incremental schedule, how long it took to configure the backup, is it success or failure? All these details will be listed down in this section. That's the same that you will even get for your SaaS applications. If you go click on the SaaS tab, restore recent job schedule, click on the reports, you'll have the detail here. Okay, you can download the logs if you want to check on it. And here is a complete detail of it. And if you want to download this, you can download it, download the reports for your internal audit purpose. Again, you also have this email notification enabled for this option. So this is what you have with the BDR suite as of now. But I've just covered the overview. There are a lot more details that I can explain, like a end user self-service portal for Microsoft 365 configurations that has been made. Not all, much more are there. So just a overview, a glimpse. I'm sorry that it might have taken a lot of time, but still, if you want a one-on-one session, you can just contact Distillogic's partner, and they'll connect us through, and you can have one of our experts, product experts, to be explaining you through a demo. Or if you want to go on for a live discussion, we can have all in a live discussion with a complete deployment or a POC that could be helped you from our team. So I can involve one of my lead engineers to help you out in the configurations as well. So, and moreover, we have this, whenever you install, you have this getting started guide. You can use this tool, or you also have this user guide, which connects to the user guide, which gives you a descriptive sense. And if you want to talk to our support team, you can just contact our support team directly at this mail. So, or raise it as a ticket from here, or it will be generated as a ticket to our support team, and one of our support team member will get in touch with you once, because that is our one of our pitch that we talk. So it's in 24/7. We'll be having a support team member to get in touch with you on it. So people, this is about the BDR suite, a complete, a comprehensive backup and disaster recovery solution in the market. And it is a #1 comprehensive backup solution for the SaaS applications that you're seeing it, as far as the SMB market, as well as the mid-range markets are concerned. So that's it from my end. Thank you for bearing with me for long.
Thank you so much, Pranav. And I really like the option where you can restore like mailboxes from one tenant to another, because that was always something to worry about. Awesome presentation, Pranav. Thank you so much. So we're reaching the end of the webinar now. There are no words I can find, honestly, to thank our technology vendors, Tenzig and Liquidware and Vembu, for their support to our region, and for the great webinar today. Very informative. As I said, Windows 365 AVD is like picking momentum now, and we have the right tools around your Windows 365 and AVD that will definitely enhance your digital experience, enhance your security posture and others. Thank you so much, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks, great to our great audience today. It would have not been such an awesome webinar without you guys. Thank you so much for attending during the vacations time and the summer time. Highly appreciated for this commitment, and I'm looking forward to meeting you in person one day and working with you and have successful stories. Thank you.